Quiet now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind. You're going to dance until your feet fall off. You're not able to stand up any longer. But we're going to have a show.
Welcome to today's episode of the Pink Door Podcast. Today we'll be discussing adding a sunroom to a home on Boston's South Shore.
It is the quintessential New England dream, isn't it?
It really is.
But as we're going to find out, it's also one of the most complex renovations you can possibly tackle.
Yeah, I've been going through the source materials we have for this deep dive.
The Sun Porch South notes.
Right, the notes, the contractor transcripts, the building code highlights. And it paints such a specific picture. I mean, we all have that image in our heads, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You're sitting in this cozy, glass-walled room. Maybe you're holding a hot cup of coffee.
Watching the snowfall.
Exactly. You're watching a nor'easter, looking at the snow piling up in the wood. You feel connected to the elements, but you are safe and warm inside.
That is the dream. I mean, you want the view, but you definitely do not want the weather.
No, not at all. But as I dug into these files, that romantic image started to get complicated really fast.
It does.
It turns out getting to that coffee-sipping moment involves navigating a literal minefield of physics, finance, and physiology. We aren't just talking about slapping some windows on we're talking about thermal breaks, snow loads, galvanic corrosion. Honest to God, I felt like I needed a degree in engineering just to read the notes.
That's the reality check. And really, that's our mission for this deep dive. We need to strip away all that brochureware.
The glossy marketing.
Right. Because if you look at the marketing, a sunroom looks simple. It looks like an easy weekend project.
Yeah.
But the documents we have tell a vastly different story. We need to answer the hard questions for you. What kind of structure actually survives a winter on the coast?
Yeah.
Is this a financial asset that builds equity? Or is it just a lifestyle luxury that burns cash?
And perhaps most importantly, for anyone listening from, Hingham down to Plymouth, why does the salt air change absolutely everything about how you build?
It changes the literal chemistry of the build. It's not just a minor detail. If you build a standard sunroom in Marshfield, the way you would in, say, Ohio or even Western Mass,
yeah,
you are going to have a corroded, leaking, incredibly expensive problem on your hands within 5 years.
Wow. Okay, so let's unpack this properly. I want to start with definitions because in the source material, the term sunroom is thrown around very loosely.
Very loosely.
It seems to cover everything from a screen porch to a high-end architectural glass box.
It's a total catch-all term, and that is where the consumer confusion and, honestly, the pricing confusion starts.
Right.
If you look at the breakdown in the Sun Porch South notes, there's a very clear hierarchy.
Right.
There are 4 distinct categories, and they perform very differently in terms of thermodynamics.
Okay, let's walk through that hierarchy. What's the entry level?
At the absolute base, you have the screened-in porch. Now, we all know what this is. It's a roof. It's mesh screens, usually just built right on top of an existing deck.
Great for mosquitoes.
Fantastic for bugs.
Yeah.
It allows you to sit outside in July and August without getting eaten alive by the greenheads.
Right.
But mechanically speaking, it offers zero weather protection. If it's windy, you feel the wind. If the rain blows sideways, which it does here practically every time it rains,
oh, you get soaked.
you get wet.
Mm-hmm.
The source material notes that this extends your evening, but it does not extend your season. You are still completely ruled by the ambient temperature.
Makes sense. It's basically just being outside with a net over your head.
Exactly.
Then you step up to the next level, which the documents call the solarium. Now, this sounds significantly more expensive.
It is, and it's visually stunning. A solarium is strictly defined as all glass.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking glass walls and a glass roof.
Oh, wow.
It looks like a conservatory or a greenhouse attached to your home.
Which sounds amazing for aesthetics. I'm picturing like a classic Victorian conservatory.
Visually, yes. And for plants, it's incredible. But here's the catch, and the sources are very specific about this regarding New England.
Oh.
Physics is not your friend here. In the summer, a glass roof turns that room into an absolute oven. It's the greenhouse effect on steroids.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, even on the South Shore, where we get a nice sea breeze, a solarium can hit over 100 degrees inside.
So unless you're farming orchids or you want to actively melt, it's not really a living room.
Exactly. And there's another major issue the local contractors noted in the transcripts. Leaks. Solariums often have curved glass eaves or really complex seals where the roof meets the wall. In our climate, with the freeze-thaw cycle of ice expanding and contracting.
Right, the ice dams.
Yes, keeping a glass roof watertight is just a maintenance nightmare.
That's a detail I hadn't considered.
Hey,
The freeze-thaw cycle essentially attacking the seals year after year.
it's brutal.
Okay, so that brings us to the two big contenders I see debated most often in the notes. The 3-season room versus the 4-season room.
This is the critical decision point for most homeowners. The 3-season room is very popular because of the price point. It gives you actual glass, windows, screens, and protection from wind and rain. You can put real furniture in there.
But the name 3-season kind of implies the flaw, doesn't it?
It does. The flaw is insulation. These rooms usually have single-pane glass, or maybe basic double-pane, but the frames aren't thermally broken.
Okay.
The floor is often just the uninsulated deck underneath. The source material points out that a 3-season room just sits empty for 4 to 5 months a year,
So from November to March, it's basically a walk-in freezer attached to your kitchen.
essentially. And if you try to heat it with a space heater, you are just bleeding electricity straight through the glass.
Right.
It won't hold the heat. It's like trying to heat the outdoors.
Which brings us to the gold standard, the 4-season room.
The 4-season room. According to the local experts in the source text, this is where the market is entirely moving despite the higher cost. This is a legitimate addition to the house.
Not just a porch.
Right. It features a fully insulated roof, usually shingled to match the house, not glass. It has thermal pane windows, insulated walls, and crucially, an insulated foundation.
And it has to be connected to the HVAC, right?
It has to be considered livable space by code. It's heated and cooled just like your living room. The logic here, which I found really compelling in the notes, is the utilization rate.
How much you actually use it.
Exactly. If you're already spending the money to build a structure, do you really want to lock the door and ignore it for nearly half the year?
That makes total sense. It's the difference between a summer room and an actual room you can use for Christmas dinner.
Precisely.
But beyond just extra space, I want to pivot to the why, because there was some fascinating stuff in the research about physiology and light that I really didn't expect to see in construction documents.
This is where it gets interesting. It's not just about square footage anymore. It's about biology.
Right. The source referenced research from Harvard Medical School linking natural light exposure to better moods.
It's a massive factor. We have those gray South Shore winters. You know, the ones where the sky is just the color of old dishwater for a week straight?
I mean, it feels like midnight by dinner time.
It really does. The research suggests that a room designed to flood the house with natural light can actually help combat seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. It increases serotonin.
Wow.
So you're not just building a real estate feature, you're building a health intervention.
It's a quality of life argument. And looking at how people are actually using these rooms based on the Sun Porch South files, it proves the point. They aren't just sitting rooms with wicker furniture anymore.
No, the usage has shifted completely. The list in the documents included yoga studios, dedicated home offices.
Which makes sense given the remote work shift.
Totally. Playrooms for kids, and even full dining areas. People want to feel outside while they work or eat without dealing with the bugs or the chill.
There was another layer to the why that appeals to the sustainability side of things, too. We need to talk about passive solar science.
This is pure physics. If you design it correctly, the room works for you. A south-facing sunroom acts as a passive solar collector.
Explain how that works in practice, because usually we think of windows as the place where you lose heat.
Well, in the winter, the sun is low in the southern sky. If you have plenty of glass facing south, that sunlight penetrates deep into the room. It hits the floor.
Hopefully a dark floor.
Hopefully a material with thermal mass like stone or tile. And that heat is trapped inside. If you keep the doors open to the main house, that warmth radiates inward. It can actually lower your heating load on a sunny January day.
But isn't there a risk? If it traps heat in January, doesn't it just roast you in July?
That is the natural tension. But the sources emphasize that modern technology has solved this with low-E glass.
Low-E stands for low emissivity, right?
Correct. It's a microscopic coating on the glass. It's incredibly smart. It reflects the long-wave heat radiation, the stuff that makes you sweat in summer back out, but it lets the visible light spectrum in.
That's brilliant.
It's a delicate balance of physics that allows the room to be a heater in winter, but not an oven in summer.
Okay, so we've defined the dream room and the science behind it. Now I want to bring it back down to earth, specifically the earth and the air of the South Shore.
Yes.
Because the experts in the transcripts were absolutely adamant. This is not a generic environment.
No. If you live in Duxbury, Marshfield, even parts of Quincy, you're dealing with a highly hostile environment for building materials.
And the number one enemy is salt.
Salt air is relentless. It is an electrolyte that accelerates oxidation. The source material explicitly warns against standard aluminum framing.
Which is what most generic sunrooms are made of, right?
Exactly. If you put standard untreated aluminum up near the ocean, it undergoes galvanic corrosion, it pits, it turns to white powder, it weakens structurally, and it just looks terrible.
Yikes.
It's like the house version of what happens to an old bike left outside all winter.
So what is the solution? Do you just have to rebuild the thing every 10 years?
No, you have to upgrade your materials up front. The recommendation is vinyl cladding, which is chemically inert to salt or specially coated aluminum with marine-grade hardware.
Marine-grade hardware, like what they use on boats.
Precisely. Stainless steel fasteners, high-grade rollers. It costs significantly more upfront, but standard hardware will seize up and rust out in 3 years on the coast. You literally won't be able to open your windows.
That is a huge detail that I feel like a lot of people might miss if they're just looking at catalogs from a national supplier.
Absolutely. The national catalogs don't account for the salt spray zone. They're designing for Ohio, not Ocean Street in Marshfield.
The other environmental factor that seemed to really worry the local contractors was the weight of the sky, the snow load.
Massachusetts building codes are incredibly strict here for a reason. We don't just get snow, we get concrete snow.
The wet, heavy stuff.
Right. A foot of light, fluffy powder in Colorado is one thing. A foot of wet snow, followed by rain, which happens constantly here in nor'easters, is incredibly heavy. The documents contain a very specific warning about prefabricated kits.
These are the ones you see online, like build your own sunroom in a weekend for $5,000.
Exactly those. And many of them are manufactured in places like Arizona or Florida that do not see 2 feet of wet snow overnight.
Right?
If you buy a kit that isn't rated for a northeast snow load, specifically the pounds per square foot requirement in the Mass Code, you are risking a catastrophic collapse.
That is terrifying. So the local codes aren't just red tape, they're literally keeping the roof over your head.
Literally. And this ties into the orientation discussion we touched on regarding passive solar. The direction your house faces dictates everything about how that room survives and how you actually use it.
Let's run through the compass points. We established that south is the winner for solar heating.
South is best for winter light and heat gain. It's the energy-efficient choice. If you want the room to help heat the house, you face it south.
What about east?
East is fantastic for morning light. It's the classic breakfast room orientation. It's also great for a home office because it cools down in the afternoon.
Right.
You don't get that glaring, low-angle sunset sun hitting your computer screen while you're trying to finish up work.
And west?
West is tricky. The experts in the notes warn about this heavily. You get intense late afternoon sun. In the summer, a west-facing glass room can become unbearable without serious investment in shades or heavy-duty air conditioning. You're fighting the sun at its absolute hottest time of day.
Then north.
The expert advice is pretty clear on north. Avoid it if possible.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, it's too dark. In New England, a north-facing sunroom basically never gets direct sunlight. It will just feel cold and gloomy for most of the year. You'll end up using artificial lights in a sunroom, which completely defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah, that makes no sense. So orientation is key. But let's get to the part that everyone is probably waiting for. The price tag. I want hard numbers.
All right, let's look at the estimates for Eastern Massachusetts specifically. Because this isn't national average stuff. This is our local reality with our labor rates and our specific code requirements.
Lay it on me.
For that 3-season room, the uninsulated one, usually built on an existing deck, you are looking at $20,000 to $45,000.
Okay, that's a car. A nice car.
It is.
Wow.
But for the 4-season, the gold standard, it's a very significant jump. You are looking at $40,000 to $80,000 realistically.
Wow.
And honestly, for a high-end finish in a coastal town with custom glass and complex roof lines, it could easily go over $100,000.
That is a major investment. Now, I noticed the experts had a very strong warning about the DIY route. You mentioned the snow load on the kits, but is there a financial reason to avoid them too?
There really is. You might see a kit online for $6,000 and think, I can save $50,000. But the experts advise strongly against this for New England. First, there's the energy code compliance. Most kits won't pass the local inspection. Then, the foundation work. You can't just put these on dirt. You need footings dug below the frost line so it doesn't heave in winter.
Which you can't really DIY easily unless you own an excavator?
Not easily, no.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, if the structure fails or leaks, which it very often does, you have no labor warranty. You are completely on your own. You have to pay someone to tear it down and build it right.
It sounds like the absolute definition of penny wise, pound foolish.
It is precisely that.
But the $80,000 isn't even the whole story, is it?
Hmm?
The sources had a section on hitting costs that really made my eyes widen. These are the budget busters.
Things nobody puts in the initial quote.
What are the big ones people forget?
First up, permits. Mandatory in Massachusetts. They can run anywhere from $500 to $2,000, depending on the town and the project value.
Okay.
And the experts warn, do not skip this. An unpermitted addition is a nightmare when you try to sell your home. It can actually hold up a close or literally force you to tear the room down.
Yeah. What else?
HVAC. People build the four-season room and assume their current furnace can just handle the extra square footage. Often it just can't. The ductwork doesn't reach or the system is undersized. You might need a dedicated mini-split system.
Those are the wall-mounted units.
Yes. They are super efficient, but that's another $3,000 to $7,000 right there.
And then you have to put things in the room.
Furnishings. If this room gets a lot of sun, UV rays are incredibly destructive. You can't just put your grandmother's antique velvet sofa in there.
No.
The sun will bleach it white in a month. You need weather-resistant or fade-resistant fabrics, like Sunbrella. That furniture is expensive.
And window treatments.
Yes, people always forget this. If you are facing west or even south, you will need shades. Exterior solar shades or high-end internal cellular shades, these aren't optional. They're necessary for survival in that room in July.
Right.
And custom shades for 10 big windows. That can easily run thousands of dollars.
So when you add it all up, the structure, the foundation, the HVAC, the permits, the shades, it's a major capital output.
Right.
Which begs the old-time question. What is the ROI? If I spend $80,000 on a sunroom in Plymouth, am I getting $80,000 back when I sell?
The short answer, based on the real estate data in the source, is no.
Ouch. That's tough to hear.
It is. The financial ROI is only about 50%. That is significantly lower than a kitchen or a bathroom remodel, which usually sits around 70 to 80%.
Why is it so low?
Appraisers often struggle to value sunrooms because they vary so much in quality. Is it a porch? Is it a true room? It's hard to find comparable sales.
So financially, it's a loss.
If you flip the house next year, yes, it is a terrible investment for a flipper. But the expert counterargument is the lifestyle ROI.
The joy factor.
Exactly. If you are staying in that home for 20 or 30 years, which many South Shore residents do, the daily enjoyment, the coffee in the snow, the playroom, the extra light that value vastly outweighs the resale math. You are amortizing that cost over thousands of days of actual enjoyment.
There was also a nuance about location that I thought was key.
Yes. In high-value coastal towns, Duxbury, Cohasset, Hingham, a high-quality sunroom acts as a premium differentiator. It sets a house apart from the competition. It implies a certain lifestyle.
But inland?
Inland, or in more starter home markets, it's just seen as nice to have, but buyers won't pay a premium for it. So the specific location within the South Shore really matters.
That is a really important distinction. Context is king. So if we boil down the documents, we have a clear set of rules for anyone considering this.
The big five. If you take nothing else away from this deep dive, remember these 5 points from the source material.
Let's run through them. Number 1.
Choose the four-season room. In New England, the utility of a year-round space justifies the cost. Don't build a room you can't use for half the year.
Number 2.
Check your orientation. South or east is best. North is a no-go. West requires a serious budget for shades.
Got it. Number 3.
Budget a contingency. Take whatever number you think it is and add 10 to 15% for those hidden costs. The HVAC, the electrical upgrades, the blinds.
Number 4.
Hire a licensed Massachusetts contractor. Someone who knows the snow loads, the energy codes, and the difference between marine grade and standard hardware.
And number 5, which seems to be the golden rule of home improvement.
Never, ever skip the permit. It protects your safety and it protects your investment when you finally go to sell.
It sounds so simple, but it's clearly where people get tripped up.
It really is.
You know, as we wrap this up, looking at all these technical details, the glass ratings, the snow loads, the corrosion resistance, it really highlights how much we try to engineer our way back to nature. We want to be outside, but we want to be perfectly comfortable.
It's a fascinating tension. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, think about what you are actually doing when you add a sunroom. You aren't just changing the square footage. You are changing the envelope of your house.
Yeah.
You are literally altering the climate inside your home. You are creating a microclimate where you can experience a New England winter without the bite of the wind. That is a powerful thing to build.
That is a brilliant way to think about it. You're building a new climate. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of sunrooms. If you have any questions about this episode, or if you are thinking about buying or selling a house anywhere on Boston's South Shore, from Southie to Sagamore, give Jim Aldred a call. He would love to speak with you. Jim believes that people in transition often feel anxious about buying or selling a home, and he provides them with the guidance and security to help your family move on smoothly. Thanks for listening, and catch you on the next episode of the Pink Door Podcast.